Welcome to the bold analysis. The word is tone deaf. I want to look at the wrong signal that the president has sent to Kenyans, having a casual outlook at the recent cabinet proposals, the first 11 that has been listed. And just after I saw that list, I've been going online to look at what Kenyans are saying, and the public is saying Ruto is tone deaf. In fact, the rationale of dissolving the cabinet, I cannot see the rationale of dissolving the cabinet if you recycle almost 40% of that cabinet. Out of 22, the batch first 11 has been named, and out of the 11, 6 are recycled. I want us to look at this and we will see the wrong signal. But when the president was, just moments before the president came out to make that press briefing, I made some observations. Kalonzo Musyoka had issued a pressure declining, or rather rejecting, the Ruto deal. And of course, the faction of Azimio that is side on Kalonzo have said no. I will tell you, I'll do some analysis based on this. You will really keep it here on what's happening even within Raila's circle. And today, when he was naming that cabinet, he was flanked by both Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who I believe is also just a cabinet secretary, just like the others. But something is very interesting. I paid attention to some few, there's some statement that President Ruto made just before he named the cabinet. You know, before he named the list, I've been hearing for quite some time about this word broad-based. And when I was listening to that presser, I was so interested to hear the president's justification of dissolving, or what exactly is what he will say about the new cabinet that is forming. Now that is where I want us to pay attention to, and kindly listen to this.
And together with it, to provide requisite raw materials for our agro, our value addition, our manufacturing, and our industrialization agenda. The need to expand existing job creation opportunities and programs, and to create new interventions to address unemployment in order to absorb thousands of unemployed young people and provide them with gainful employment opportunities. The necessity of a public conversation on innovative, prudent, transparent, and accountable use of public resources, along with people-friendly mechanisms for domestic resource mobilization and reducing public expenditure in a manner to make sure that we live within our means. Number 4, the imperative of addressing the significant challenge of public debt by establishing and implementing very clear mechanisms to reduce public borrowing and insulate the country from risks associated with debt accumulation, including prudent financial management to avoid debt distress. The importance of constituting a more inclusive government that unlocks the potential of citizens from all sectors to drive our national transformation and our unity. I gave the nation my undertaking to reflect at length on these issues that have been brought into sharp focus by the people of Kenya. I also promised to consult widely on the way forward, and I also promised to craft a broad-based government that would harness the enormous potential in our country to turbocharge our economic transformation and to provide for inclusive growth. While the events of the past 1 month have caused tremendous anxiety, concern, and uncertainty, the crisis has presented us with a greater opportunity as a nation to craft a broad-based and inclusive citizen coalition for national transformation and progress, made up of all Kenyans from all walks of life. It cannot be denied that our nation has been in a crisis caused by multiple and complex factors. Neither can we turn away from recognizing that the opportunity before us is greater than the crisis. Together, we have a chance to take our country where we all want it to be.
Now you'll understand that from that speech, the things President have spoken about is this issue of broad-based, that I promised to consult widely and have broad-based. And honestly, we are not still in the same page. Whether the Gen Z, the complaints that Gen Z raised were about Ruto's cabinet in terms of who was to come to join and not to join. But it was about the competence. And what exactly is broad-based? Because let's have a look at the new cabinet. The interior docket has been handed back to Kithure Kindiki. Health has been given to Dr. Deborah Mulongo Baraza. Deborah Mulongo Baraza replaces Susan Nahumisha. That docket has still gone back to another lawyer. And if I'm not wrong, Nahumisha was appointed by Wetangula. Even this Deborah Mulongo Baraza could still be an appointee of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula. The Public Works has been handed to Alice Wahome. Alice Wahome was formerly in charge of land. I think that this is Public Works and Land, if I'm not wrong. And this is now merged ministry, and this is where the affordable housing was being implemented. Education has been handed over to Julius Ogamba. Julius Ogamba reportedly was the running mate towards the running mate to Ezekiel Machogu in the run-up to the last general election. Because Machogu was vying on UDA ticket in Kisii, and Julius Ogamba was his running mate. Recycled, it still tells you it's within the UDA circles. Aden Duale has been recycled in the defense, amongst other contention. Agriculture has been handed to Dr. Andrew Karanja, and that shows that I've looked at the profile of Andrew Karanja. I think it's a very deserving appointment. If you look at his profile and his work, having worked in ministry at some point, and was also now went and worked on some donor-funded agricultural projects, he's been picked from, I think, amongst one of the best picks. He could be in line as one of the best picks, actually going to a ministry that was being held by Mithika Linturi. It's something you can't doubt. Soipan Tuya has gone back to environment. Soipan Tuya also had less friction, but of course we questioned the tree planting exercise that was gobbling millions. There is water and irrigation. Eric Muridhe, we told this is a Gen Z, a civil engineering graduate that graduated in 2022 from University of Nairobi. If you look at profile, people are asking whether he really has had that experience, but has been touted as the face of the Gen Z in the cabinet. Then Davis Chirchir has been taken to Rhodes, the ministry that was being held by Kipchumba Murkomen. Kipchumba Murkomen was the closest ally to William Ruto and was given that Rhodes. And now Davis Chirchir has been handed over the Rhodes, which was formerly handed by Murkomen. I don't know whether there can be any transition there. This could still be another Murkomen in the offing, and I've seen Uasin Gishu leaders saying that that pen should not go far. ICT's Dr. Margaret Ndungu, quite a very big, also if you look at this is also one of the most deserving appointments in terms of qualification, and the profile is really promising. Then Rebecca Miano is the new Attorney General, going to the record as the first woman Attorney General. Probably William Ruto wanted us to look at that riddling angle, and of course is also more deserving, even though if you look at her profile back, she was also smeared with some corruption. In fact, any cabinet member who worked with William Ruto between 2022 to now ought not to have been there. Now look at the reactions of the Kenyans from some parts of the country here.
Taridhika na Ruto kabisa. Hiyo maoni yetu kama sisi wakaji wa Mvita hatujaridhika kabisa. Tulikuwa tunataka Ruto asafishe hiyo nyumba, akisasafisha hiyo nyumba atuletee watu mpya. Alafu hapo kwa upande wa education, inatakana rais angalie vizuri. Hapo ni angeletwa mtu kama Matiang'i ingekuwa sawa. Watu wangeenda sambamba. Manake tukiangalia mambo Matiang'i alituletea mambo ya education, manake kikubwa sasa ni education. Kama sisi tunafundisha watoto, tunaona kama education ilikuwa na shida kidogo. Kwa hayo machache ndio maoni yangu.
Asante. Na mkianza kwa majina yako, na wewe maoni yako ni yapi? Umeridhishwa?
Kwa majina inaitwa Jacob. Kwangu ni tofauti kidogo, sababu rais akona akili mzuri kidogo. Sababu rais amefikiria kitu ambayo inaweza kusaidia Wakenya. Sasa rais afikirie vizuri hao ambao waliweka afanye kazi na Wakenya wazuri. Mimi sina maneno, rais najua akona akili. Asante.
Ukianza kwa majina yako, je, unahisi kwa wale walioteuliwa, kwa wale walioondolewa, kuna wengine labda walikuwa wanapaswa kurejeshwa kama kina Kindiki, ama maoni yako ni?
Mimi kauli yangu, kwa majina naitwa Kelvin. Kauli yangu ni hivi, Kindiki kwanza kwangu kabisa nimeghadhabishwa na hiyo story ya Kindiki. Kindiki hakuwa anafaa regesho hapo. Manake hata ukiangalia vile jenzi walianza kuandamana, amehusika kwa kifo ya wananchi wengi. Cha pili ni kulingana na venye rais anateua makabineti wake, anachagua watu na ile upendeleo. Ukiangalia vile hao makabineti wanafanya kazi kwetu sisi tunaumizwa. Maana anachagua, hakuna jenzi hata mmoja amechagua tu wale ma deep state wenye anajua ndio amewaregesha tena. Kwa sasa hivi on Tuesday next week bado tutamrudia tena, tutamfinya tena mpaka elewe hii story. Jenzi power.
Naam. Ukianza kwa majina yako, tueleze maoni.
Kwa majina naitwa Chris. Kulingana na cabinet zenye Mr. Ruto amechagua haijaridhisha kabisa. Ukiona Kindiki, Duale, those are the faces that we knew before. So hii kitu tulikuwa tunataka faces mpya. Yaani majenzi sura mpya. Hii kitu hatujaridhishwa nayo kabisa. Asante.
Lakini pale tumeona kwamba kuna gender balance. Wanawake pia wameweza kuteuliwa pale kwa wingi. Labda kama mwanamke umeridhishwa na uteuzi huu wa rais?
Hata maoni inapotea. Maana tuwagoja aondoe Mudavadi, anatusurprise. Huyu mtu atakuwa serious lini? Hayuko serious. Ni kama asikii venye sisi tunataka. Yeye anafuata venye yeye inamwambia. Tuwagoja mtoe Mudavadi, sisi wote tualia Mudavadi, mbona yeye alibaki? Sasa ametuongeza zile sura. Kuna watu wamesomea hizo vitu na hawezi pewa hiyo nafasi.
So people are feeling that William Ruto is tone deaf. And let me just pause here and ask you again. Do you think, are you contented with the new cabinet that President Ruto has named? I still say tone deaf, because there is some signal that I am seeing here. From the first 11 that have been named, there is a signal that Kenya Kwanza is sending to the country. And they want us to look at this signal. The first angle I'm seeing here is recycling of first cabinet even makes the act of dissolving just a political charade. And I want to look at individually some of these cabinet members that have been recycled and why this was not really a very good move. Kithure Kindiki had a very good profile, and I've always been saying that when Kithure Kindiki, a lawyer, was appointed in the interior docket, then what that means is, the legal fraternity were happy, and they were a bit excited that one of them has been taken there. And because that ministry was already riddled with disobedience of court orders and most extra legal conducts, there was a little bit glimmer of hope that the ministry will now be following the law. But the two wave of protests, both the anti-government protest in 2023 and the anti-finance bill in 2024, exposed Kindiki negatively, because the country experienced police brutality. And I think that was all done in the watch of Waziri Kindiki. So if I was even to pacify, let's argue that the new cabinet was supposed to pacify the Gen Z protests. If you look online, they are really protesting against Kindiki reappointment, because that was he is the face of hate on Kenya Kwanza. Of course, that ministry, people are still sad about how young people were killed, and they were killed under the watch of a ministry he's in charge of. So President Ruto would have done better by probably switching this. There was such rumors that this was going to be switched, but you also understand that the ministry is also a leg in government, and probably that is it. So the Kindiki face, recycling of Kindiki, is not a good signal, because he's been the face of that. But in terms of record before that, everything is fine. Chirchir failed in the Ministry of Energy. Yes, Chirchir failed in the Ministry of Energy. Chirchir failed in the Ministry of Energy, and the G2G deal that was really seen as one of the aspects that was going to stabilize the cost of fuel. And I think in the energy sector, not so much can be taken in terms of credit that has been given. So I think President Ruto will still have thought of something else, and it's really a signal that probably the Kalenjin axis might be retained. The Kalenjin axis might be retained, and that has a deeper interpretation. Duale, Wahome, Tuya, let me just say this. CS Duale, Wahome, Soipan Tuya, Murkomen is actually in signaling that Murkomen might be back in cabinet. And I want to tell you why. Duale was elected as an MP in Garissa, and he had to drop his MP position to be appointed in cabinet. And so that means he had some stakes. Tuya was nominated by UDA, so Pan Tuya, who has been appointed to the forestry, I think there, was nominated initially as a UDA in UDA party. But after that appointment, she then left that UDA nomination and was picked to cabinet. Also a political appointee. Alice Wahome had been elected as an MP in Kandara. So if she was going to be chased out of cabinet, removed from cabinet, having been appointed from the other side, then that was a strong indication that she will be sent to political oblivion. The same fate befell Murkomen. Murkomen was already elected as Senator in Elgeyo Marakwet and had to leave the Senate to go to cabinet. So if those out of the 6, the three that is Duale, Wahome and Tuya are on those who won political seats, who had political seats that have been taken to cabinet. So it's a signal that Murkomen is coming back, and that angle or that signal brings me to the second signal. Why? And what I want to say, Ruto is captive of 2027 political matrix, and dragging Raila in the fold was actually a decoy to compromise on corruption and competence card. There is a big compromise even from the list. Just on Friday morning, there was a story about a corruption in the Ministry of Interior, led by the minister that belongs to Kindiki. So there is a signal here that if you look at that, the way the first batch and the way the 6 have been recycled, the signal here is Ruto is captive to 2027 politics and will not really want to be in it. And that is why, that brings me to the third signal. Out of the 11 cabinet slots, 6 have gone to Gema. I can name Dr. Andrew Karanja, that was a Gema, yes, has also gone back there. Eric Muruithi is taking over water, Gema. ICT Dr. Margaret Ndungu is gone, formerly was held by Owalo. Rebecca Miano, first AG, gone back, and Alice Wahome. I know the tribal arrangement, and where I'm taking this is Mutahi Kahiga had warned that because they voted 3 million votes to President Ruto, 8 cabinet slots that were reserved for Mount Kenya should go back there. It's heading back to 8. And this is telling you that President Ruto is holding the power sharing deal in 2022. And that means that cabinet slots are likely to be 22, contrary to calls for it to be 15, to reduce the size of government. The call to reduce to 15. But if he's named 6, and if he's named 11, and 6 are from Mount Kenya, then in the regional balance might not be achieved if only 4 slots are remaining. He has named 11. So they're understanding them to be 15. Will the regional slot be achieved with the 4 remaining? No. There is a high likelihood that the cabinet is still going to be 22, and that will not reduce the size of cabinet as had been proposed earlier. And that tells you that the other factors that were put when constituting the 2022 cabinet are still intact. The other signal which I am taking keen is appointment of Chirchir in the Ministry of Roads. It's a wrong signal. But of course there is something it indicates. That ministry was held by Murkomen. Murkomen was William Ruto's closest ally. And it is being now given to Chirchir. Chirchir have a long history with President Ruto. Back then, from him, he was appointed in the Ministry of Energy, even the first Uhuru Ruto government. Until there was a corruption scandal, then he had to be shown the way. And then when he came back in the run-up to the last general election, he was the chief of staff in the office of the deputy president. Then from there, he was prominently named in the last general election activities. Until then, he was appointed in cabinet. And when appointed in cabinet, took the Ministry of Energy. Now, that Ministry of Roads is one that is the backbone of many road deals in the country. So that ministry is still under the Kenyan axis. It's a signal that Ruto is still keeping tabs with, what has really been complained about is the lifestyle of some of the cabinet slots, the Kenyan access there. Now, the appointment of the Gen Z in it probably is supposed to pacify. We are yet to look at the profile, but I think I didn't see much of that experience. But as to whether it will pacify and how people react about it is very interesting. Rebecca Miano as the first woman Attorney General, a good move, yes, of course, but not so much. It's just part of creating talking points. And the point of Julius Migos Ogamba among the UDA ranks and still picking the running mate to Machogu could be meaning that William Ruto is just keeping the cycle. And I am not saying anything new. Now, when I come back, I'll tell you exclusive why Raila might be in his way out of the Ruto deal. It will be very interesting to see how this will play out. So kindly, thank you very much for supporting. And I can also read your feedback, what you think about the new cabinet picks. Thank you.